Welcome back to our show, your show, Let's Talk Stocks. And we are with you at the 19th Regional Investments in Capital Markets Conference here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. And joining me is a very illustrious guest. Now, a true Caribbean man, because while he'll tell you that he's a special advisor in Guyana on the gas projects, oil and gas projects, he's also a former deputy governor of the Bank of Jamaica. So I want to welcome to the show Mr. Ally.
Please,
Asgar Ally.
Pleasure to be here, sir.
Now, why are you at the conference today?
Well, I was to come in with my president because I was on vacation here. So I was accompanying him to this conference, but this morning he called me and told me he could make it, that I must apologize for him. Because he's sorry, he's really keen on coming. But you know, he's president and it's the budget week and yeah, so.
Yes, and Guyana just put together $1 trillion budget.
1.12 trillion.
Guyana, the potentially one of the fastest growing economies in the world.
Yeah.
What do you make of that in this time?
Well, there are two things to know about that. You know, I'm an economist, so I tend to put figures in perspective because you have to understand how that growth has come about. Most of it, or half of it, is because of the new oil and sector. So you're growing from a low base, and therefore, as you grow, the growth increases.
Absolutely.
And the base gets bigger and then it falls. But the truth of the matter is that the growth, to some extent, the revenue from oil that we're getting is just at this point in time is only about under 15% of a barrel of oil. Because how it works is this. Exxon is in control of the oil sector virtually. They establish the wells, they drill for the oil, they bring the oil up, and they sell it. And we get, at this point in time, 15% revenue and royalty from the oil, which is very small. But still, it makes a lot of difference in Guyana. And the GDP growth is huge. But 75% of a barrel of oil is retained by Exxon for expenses. And they pay for all the equipment and so on that they bring in. But that's really a high percentage, if I may say so. And in the new contracts which we're doing now, we have reduced that.
Which is the next question I'm going. How long was the tenure of those contracts which would have had Guyana getting only 15%?
Well, that's for until the oil expires.
Until the oil expires. And that's not for all the wells that they've found. It was for the initial setup.
The initial set called the Stabroek Block. The Stabroek Block, and the Exxon is in charge of that.
And just so the viewers understand, so you're saying that was for the Stabroek Block. What percentage of the, if you may, of the new oil and gas find in Guyana that block would have been, if we were to hazard a guess?
At this point in time, we don't know the full extent of the oil deposits, but it's huge. And I could explain to you what that means.
Yes.
It's about, I would say, they have identified at least 15 billion barrels of oil in the ground. So at this point in time, I would say Exxon has identified about 25 to 30% of that, of that. That block alone will have most of it. So SO has now working 3 wells, and they're in the process of building another 7 wells. So, and every day we are finding new oil discoveries. If you have the time, I could explain to you what is happening. You see, at one stage, Africa and Latin America were joined together. So West Africa is closer to the South American coast, on which Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname are part of. And there is under that coast a basin of oil, huge basin of oil. Nobody knows the full extent. Every day they're finding more.
So potentially, even though Guyana may be earning a relatively small amount from the Starbuck block, the potential for changing that percentage share is huge.
Well, we have now issued applications for 14 new blocks. And on those new blocks, we will now get, instead of 15% intake as revenue, we will now get about 37 to 40% on those new blocks. So things, the percentage of the barrel of oil
will change. Here's the thing when we look at a discussion like that, because everything in context. It shows the position that we were as a region and a people able to negotiate prior to this find. So we were coming from a weak position where we were saying, look, even just to find it, if you give me 5 or 10%, my life is so much changed. But no, with this, we can negotiate from a position of greater strength.
Let me give you an example. Take Saudi Arabia. They were just getting, like us initially, very little from their oil. But then, they had a very brilliant oil minister called Sheikh Yamani. And they developed what is called Aramco. They put all the oil under one company, Arab American Oil Company. And they are now the richest company in the world. But they started small, and they have huge deposits of oil. So the Saudi model is a good one. And we are working we now set up our oil company. But the Exxon have the expertise, they have the capital, we don't have it.
And they were able to get you to this point.
To come in and we work in partnership. But and then we have set up what is called the local cost. They have to employ a lot of people and use Guyana resources. So we're taking it stage by stage. We don't want to go and scare and say that, we want X percentage. We will build up. We will get there, like Saudi Arabia. And our oil company will become very large.
It's interesting that you would say that. We will get there like Saudi Arabia. Now, given what we know of Saudi Arabia, the potential to create wealth for Guyana is immense. How are we looking? What are the plans being put in place to ensure that, the kind of transformation that will come will benefit the entire?
Well, this is what I am involved in, and among others. I am there as a former senior minister of finance in 92 to 96. Dr. Jagan pulled me away from Jamaica when he became president. I came into my house.
Shady Jagan.
Yeah, he was the then Prime Minister of Guyana. And he asked me, look, when they got power in 92, they had very little amount of people to work. So I had to give up my big job here and so on. But I'm a Guyanese too.
Yes.
And I'm a West Indian. So I said, all right, I will come. I will come and give you 3 years of service, and the time we will set up the management of the economy. And one of the things I did, I got Barajadeo, who is now the vice president and he's now in charge of the oil sector, and he used to be president.
Yes, I remember.
And there's a 2-term limit. So he worked under me for a while, and when I left, he took over, and he's doing a very good job. Very, very good. But Irfan Ali also was a minister, very younger boy than me, you know? So Ghana is moving forward. Now, how do we move now to transform the Guyana's economy? We're doing 3 things. We are training our people, and we're doing it quickly. We give about 20,000 scholarships so that they can do it online and free. And this year, about over 2,000 people graduated with BScs, MScs, and some PhDs. So we're getting the skills. We set up a training center in Berbice to produce trained people. We didn't have a CAST, but we have something called the Institute, of Technical Institute. What you had converted CAST into the University of Technology.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of your skills come from CAST. So what we're doing now is training the people. And we are now getting more and more people to come in and take on jobs in Assam.
Guyana will need, you're doing a lot of infrastructural work. You will need capital. You're at the Investments and Capital Markets
I can
Conference.
tell you about that. That's why I'm here for this capital market thing. You see, capital becomes the engine of growth. As I said at a conference that I had in Guyana, I was there. And Guyana now needs about 10 billion at least capital funds to establish new companies and so forth, to take advantage of the opportunities that are rising. The projects are there. All you need is the financing and the expertise.
The question that follows that, therefore, how important is it for the region, the Caribbean region, to participate, the Caribbean capital markets to participate in Guyana's development? We've always gone north.
Yes.
How important is it for the region to participate?
Very important. And that's what this conference and others are doing. I'm very grateful when the Jamaica Stock Exchange came to Guyana. I gave a presentation, and I told them I'm very glad, and our president wanted to be here to give that message. We are part of the Caribbean.
Yes.
And we have to make sure that whatever happening in Guyana is part of the Caribbean. The transformation in Guyana will facilitate the transformation of the Caribbean, the CARICOM economy.
A rising tide, Ollie, lifts all boats. Can the Caribbean look to Guyana as that rising tide?
Well, it will take time. You know, they will, I can't say overnight it will happen, but it's happening gradually now. And a lot of West Indians are coming in. They're setting up companies. They're coming mainly from Trinidad because they had the expertise in oil. So it can happen because it's moving up, and Guyana is a market economy. And people are coming in and they're getting jobs. Many, if you go in as Exxon operations, you will see a large number of Guyanese. So it has to happen, you know. Jamaica has a lot of the expertise here, and we want to tap into that.
And they're giving me the wrap-up signal. But as you leave, what parting words, what you want to leave on the minds of Jamaicans, given what is happening in Guyana?
I would say both Jamaica and Guyana are part of the Caribbean, and that Guyana is going to play its part to help develop CARICOM. Because as CARICOM develops, the market will grow bigger, and it will also benefit Guyana, because we're setting up a state-of-the-world industrial sector. Something, you remember Eric Williams in history that set up their industrial sector, and we got to do something of a first world nature. And I am the chairman now of the Wales Development Authority, which was a sugar estate which was abandoned by the last government. So we are setting up that area for the industrial estate. And that's what we are working on now.
Asgar, we need to talk more.
The Jamaicans are going to have, they have the expertise. I will tell you this, a lot of Jamaican companies are coming to Guyana. Some big ones too.
I know.
And we welcome them. So, but there are lots more to talk about. I just want to say that Guyana now is on the cusp of tremendous economic development. And as Guyana develops, so it will carry, all the boats will rise as Guyana rise, you know? And therefore, we will have a more unified, a more developing CARICOM. You know, it will take time. I wouldn't say it will happen overnight. So I'm very grateful for this interview.
The future is bright.
Well, I would say yes. Given what's happening in Guyana, and a lot of good things are happening in the Caribbean. We're working on a food security program where people are coming in Guyana because we have the land and the water resources. They are setting up big manufacturing agricultural establishment to become self-sufficient in food.
Irfan, Asgar Ally, I want to thank you for having joined us today,
Very
and
good.
I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much.
Asgar Ally is a special advisor on the oil and gas project down there in Guyana, one of the fastest growing economy, and he says a rising tide lifts all boats. We're watching the region to see how they will benefit. Thank you.